Welcome to another episode of the OrangeNerd Show. In this video, we're going to talk about Pixar. We're going to talk about adult content on Disney Plus, and we're going to talk about where is all the classic content on Disney Plus that we were promised. Where is it? We're going to dive into it up next. Welcome to another episode of the OrangeNerd Show. I brought my fantastic panel, good friends, collaborators with me today to discuss all things Disney Plus and streaming and studio. First up is Mr. Family Man 23. George, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good. I took a little hiatus off of the show, but I'm glad to be back in the Orange Grove 55 studio with you fellas.
Yes, well, we're glad to have you back, George. It's good to have you back. Balls to the wall, baby.
That's how I roll.
Oh, we gotta do it. We gotta do it.
That's how
you
roll, man. That's how
gotta do the balls to the walls, man.
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And Dre, Mr. Vast Sky, how you doing today, brother?
Doing pretty good. This was an interesting one. Called up and said, "Hey, you want to do it? You want to do it with George again?" I was like, "Yeah, I do. We got to get back in the saddle here." Nice to have the gang back together again, and exactly. Nice to have it back together again, and these streams are a delight. So I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be back.
Perfect. Well, let's dive right into today's first topic. Now, it's Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when we were sold on Disney Plus, we were told that like everything Disney was going to be put on the streamer, right? Everything. We're going to get everything that Disney basically ever made was going to be on this platform. And it really didn't pan out that way. We're still waiting for quite a bit. George, I'm going to start with you. Where is all the classic content? What's going on?
I have no flipping idea. I would really like to know myself because, I mean, when they first announced of this streaming platform that they were going to bring all the classic original nostalgia that we all grew up with, and even back in the day before our time, it's that quintessential Walt Disney type of like we do have like the Mickey Mouse shorts, but there are tons more that were made in the 1930s and the 40s. And then we also have Your Host Walt Disney segments where Walt would have his television show to promote to build Disneyland. And it's like, where are all those? And then, of course, growing up as a 90s kid, I'll keep on repeating this until people's ears bleed, but it's like Dumbo Circus and Under the Umbrella Tree. And it's like, I grew up on all that. And that's what we were promised. And I do know that in a strategy form, Disney doesn't want to put everything out at once. I get that,
right.
Because they want to kind of stretch everything out. But when we start getting documentaries on Fauci on Disney Plus,
Oh man!
We're in trouble.
And other type of things that for me that it just doesn't fit right. And it doesn't, like, you could get it on Hulu, you could have it on Netflix, but it doesn't fit in the categorize when you think of Disney Plus. And and
you're
that's
right.
Yeah.
No, you're I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're absolutely right. And it's the classic content. Like, I gotta be honest with you, I love Mandalorian. I've been really into the Marvel shows. I'm really looking forward to Moon Knight. But the thing that I find myself going back to more and more on the platform, more than anything, is the classic content. I've been really enjoying kind of revisiting the Disney classics, Happiest Millionaire, Swiss Family Robinson, Shaggy Dog, right? Spin and Marty, Zorro. I've had a ton, Davy Crockett. I've had a ton of fun kind of revisiting these classics, and that's the bulk of my. This is the bulk of my time on Disney Plus is mostly dedicated to this classic stuff. And then to see a lot of it left out, like George, you touched upon a lot of good stuff, like Under the Umbrella Tree. I don't know if our audience is old enough to remember that, but that was a gem. I loved that show. Okay, I don't think it was Jim Henson, but it was in the same vein of Jim Henson with the Muppets and the puppets and all that. It was a great show. I want to see Mickey Mouse Club, the '90s version of the MMC, on this platform. Bring that on. I want to see Oswald cartoons. Oswald, the old Oswald. I want to see Disneyland Goes to the World's Fair, which we were promised.
We were promised. It was on the schedule. It was on the schedule. It had a date and everything.
Yep.
And it just disappeared completely. And we didn't get no inclination of when another release date, but it's still out there. You know, and it's the one thing that, and I'm probably going to get a lot of comments on this, but I'm going to go balls to the wall here. That I feel that Disney, as far as the streaming, they're kind of relying on their laurels too much with Marvel and Star Wars, which as you had mentioned, OG, that nothing wrong with that. I love The Mandalorian. I love all the content of Marvel. But when you just rely on those two topic matter, you're basically just going to have the same thing repeating all over again. You want to have that variety, especially of where the Disney company was founded. It was founded on cartoons. I mean, hell, I would even like to even see those old-fashioned maybe Alice comedies that Walt Disney produced from the 1920s.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
No, that would be very, very cool. And you're right. Like, look, I'm a huge Star Wars guy. I love Star Wars, you know, and I love Marvel too, to be honest with you. And I've been enjoying a lot the Marvel shows. WandaVision? Oh my God, I am a WandaVision stan, as the kids say. I love WandaVision. I think that was a fantastic show. I even liked Hawkeye. A lot of people didn't really like that show. I thought it was a lot of fun. There's a lot of great stuff coming from both of these studios, but Disney Plus needs to be more than just that. You know, they gotta really kind of appeal to everybody. But Dre, I mean, what's your experience been in terms of classic content on the platform?
Well, it's interesting because that was like you guys said, that was the big seller, right? That was the big selling point, was that we were going to get the entire vault, the entire collection of everything that had come before. You know, Disney company's been around for 100 years. We were getting 98, 97 years worth of content. That's what the sale was, and it's like, no, you're not getting that at all. I mean, do we even have? Do you guys know? Do we even have Steamboat Willie on? Disney Plus?
I think that one is. That one's on there.
That one is? Okay. Yeah. But do we have any of the other Black and White?
We don't have, I don't think we have Plane Crazy. We don't have, I think we have The Brave Little Tailor. But again, there's like a lot of Mickey shorts, and not even just, and some of my favorite shorts, that there are several, but there's a lot more, is Goofy's How To.
Oh my goodness gracious!
I love
those
the
were great
how-tos, and there's even some classic Disney live-action films that aren't even on the platform yet. So Dear to My Heart, In Search of the Castaways. Like there's like some classic Disney films that aren't even on the roster yet.
Do we know if 20,000 Leagues is on there?
Yeah, that is. I watched that one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
sorry about that. Go ahead, OG.
But that's the sad part, George, is that, look, there's been some of these, like some of the classic content that they actually have put on the platform. Some of it I didn't even know existed. You know, there's a movie called Those Callaways.
Good movie.
You know, I'm a huge Disney fan. I mean, I got a whole channel dedicated to this stuff. I've been a fan my whole life. Never heard of that movie. Never have. Saw it on Disney Plus one day. Said, you know what? I'm going to click on it. Watched it. Fantastic movie. It's a 1960s era, like Walt era movie.
Right.
It's really, really good. You know, and that's something I never would have saw. If I had to buy the Blu-ray or anything, I would never have given it a chance.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the beauty of this platform, is that you put stuff on this platform and you open up this content to the younger generation. Not saying I'm the younger generation, I'm not, but I'm just saying in theory, you open up to people that haven't been exposed to this stuff, and that can kind of like become new fans of this old classic stuff. And it's sad. I want to see more of it. Disney Plus now has been around for almost 3 years. Come on, Disney, you know, like the excuses now. There's no excuse. Come on.
There should really be, I mean, and wouldn't this have been great? In the interim between the big shows, there should have been at least like one classic piece of content released every week.
Right.
It's really what the pace they should have established for themselves. That way, it's like you're getting something new every single week, whether it be old or new. And the fact that they haven't, I mean, some of this is because, okay, so we have the capability to go 4K and Dolby Atmos, right? So it's like, okay, well, this is how do you upscale that, right? And how's that restoration process actually go? That's a very technical process, and a lot goes into that, a lot more than I think people give that process credit for. But it's like, this is what this whole platform was about, really. I at least from my end, when I look at it, I'm debating whether or not I'm going to be keeping Disney Plus, just keeping it real, in November, because I was one of those, who bought the 3 years, buy-in package that was part of the November release, right? And so, like, when this date is coming up, I'm judging whether or not I'm going to keep this service. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, if a lot of that classic content became available, I would totally be bought in. That wouldn't even be a question. But because it's not, it's like, well, do I necessarily need this service or not? And that's really unfortunate, because I think there are people in a similar position as me. I mean, wouldn't it be cool? I mean, I cannot find. I think like Johnny Tremaine, for example, right? I think that only came out as a VHS release. I can't find that in digital form anywhere. Anywhere. Wouldn't it be cool to get that on Disney Plus? Like, make it a super exclusive thing, that is released on this platform. And as far as classic content goes, I'm just not seeing it.
No.
Now, let me ask you fellas this. Do you think because with a lot of the older content that Disney now has to kind of go back and sort of kind of toothpick through everything because of the days and times that we're in now, that if certain things were considered quote unquote offensive or anything, where they now have to go through the whole entire library because it was released in a a specific time, that do you think that plays into consideration?
Oh, 100%.
Somewhat, yeah.
I mean, especially with, not to get into details, but some of those old Mickey Mouse cartoons, and definitely not suitable for today,
but I mean, we're gonna get into this, but I mean, with adult content being available, right? Couldn't you at least, like, I don't know, pin code or password protect that kind of content?
True.
Right? I mean, yes, I understand sensibilities, but they put tags in front of this stuff
right
now, right? And couldn't you go one more layer, afforded to you by this adult content kind of leverage that they have now, right? I mean, couldn't you go in that direction? I mean, I think we can do that.
I would think that they would. I think it's just right now, especially with a little bit of the burning that the company has going through right now.
That's true.
And especially with the with the Chapek thing, and now with the cheerleading squad at Walt Disney World, and it's like. But I will give Disney credit. I mean, they covered their butts on that one very quickly.
Yeah.
To kind of
They're getting a little better at that PR game, aren't they?
Yeah,
a little bit. Yeah, you guys are right, though. I mean, I'm not against the tags. I mean, Warner Brothers does that. Like, a lot of their Looney Tunes stuff is what you would call problematic. But Warner Brothers, what they do is they add a tag, like these shorts were made in a different era. We don't endorse the viewpoints or what's being presented here.
And they kind of already did that with Dumbo and Peter Pan. Like, if you play those films on Disney Plus,
right.
The tags come up. You get that disclaimer right before the film starts.
Yeah. And my feeling on the tags is I'm fine with it if that means preserving the work as it was created. I'm very much an originalist in that way. I want to see what audiences saw back in, in
whatever that time,
1940s, 1950s. Yeah, exactly. At least have the option, right? And that's why a lot of people, ask for, hey, can we get the Star Wars original releases, right? Can we get them in their original form before, the special editions came out? People want to see how it was presented back when they came out. And I think that's a really important thing. The fact that we don't get to see a lot of it on Disney Plus.
And a lot of that
really
even comes with not even just the films, but even like the specials that they used to have, like the 1 hour in Wonderland, where they had Edgar Bergen with Charlie McCarthy and Edgar Snerd, where he was a special guest going to Walt's studio when they were promoting Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, yes. Okay, I think I remember that.
It actually came out as a Christmas special.
Wow, George, you're deep diving right now.
Yeah,
I have no idea what you're talking about. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That was in the
presented by Coca-Cola.
I think it was a black and white special, right? And
they were black and white. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So remember at this time he was Walt was doing like Disneyland television show, and they were other studios were licensing out their films for TV. But he was, Walt was such a pioneer. He was like, oh, no, I'm going to use this to promote my films for the theaters. So that's kind of where that mentality was. But it'd be nice to see those things because those are super rare.
You know what I would also love to see? And this is totally a niche market. This is like the Disney fanboy in me. And a majority of the general public probably wouldn't give a shit. But I would love to see just Disney take maybe like a half an hour or whatever it is, and just showcase all the old school Disney commercials, even. The promotional material, like the Donald Duck orange juice stuff, maybe like in the 60s. And just have a whole thing of just like the commercial after commercial of all the old school Disney commercials.
Well, it's funny that you say that. On Disney Plus, if you bring up the Mouseketeers at Walt Disney World, and this is the special that they had like back from the 80s Mouseketeers. Wow. 70s and the 80s. If you watch that, it actually has the commercials on it. They don't cut the commercials. So whenever that show premiered, you'll see those commercials on there.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Yeah, I like that stuff. I think that would be it's fascinating kind of diving into like that era of America, right? To kind of see like the commercials in the 60s and 70s or of the 50s, or even like I even go back, I'll watch like on YouTube, like commercials from like the 80s and 90s.
Okay, so I'm not the only one who does that.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
Okay. But I think it's kind of cool too that if they were, because I used to grow up buying the special editions for like the movies and everything, and because we used to love watching the behind the scenes and what it takes to make these films. Like they should add like, I don't know what you would call them, like sub features. Like when you click on a movie, like for Peter Pan, you have like the special features of everything that they released of Peter Pan and Pinocchio and Fantasia. That would be so kick-ass that you could have all those features right on Disney Plus, and you wouldn't have to worry about Bob Chapek putting it back in the vault.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
They have that a little bit with Star Wars right now, where if you click on some Star Wars presentations, you'll get like behind the scenes features or like featurettes that were, prominent on the Blu-rays and stuff like that. Like you get a little bit of that, but man, I'm with you, George. Like give me all that. Give me all the stuff that used to be included on these discs, the diamond and Blu-ray editions and so forth. That'd be really great.
It'd be fantastic. I would love it, and I think eventually they will release a lot of stuff. Like, I think they're slow rolling a lot of stuff out because, like, I think it was you, George, who mentioned early on in this video where, they want to space it. They don't want to like drop everything at once,
right?
But it is taking a long time. It's taken a real long time.
I'm for sure we'll probably get the content we talked about today when Tron opens up. I'm for sure.
Yeah. 2045.
2045. There you go. Perfect. No, I'm the restoration process I'm sure is pretty intense. I mean, I know what is it? I know like Beauty and the Beast when they were attempting to get that film converted from to make the upgrade from DVD to Blu-ray and 4K, they had a lot of problems with that because those animation cells were just not in great shape, and the original reference material had to be restored. Like some of this stuff is more involved than others, but I mean, come on, let's get the highest quality copy that you can get. digitize it, put it up, and let's go here. Let's get some of this content going. I think this is a big selling point for Disney Plus for a lot of fans.
Yeah. Now I got to ask you, George, you might know, are the Wuzzles on Disney Plus? Do you remember the Wuzzles?
Wuzzles. I do remember the Wuzzles. I'm trying to think if that was Disney. I don't think that was.
Wasn't the Wuzzles HBO?
No, it was Disney. It was actually it was Disney's very first television. Let me go ahead and bring it up.
I think. Wait, now that you mention it, I think I do know what you're talking about now.
It was Disney's very first TV show, or animated TV show. I'll bring up. I'll bring it up here. Give me just a second, guys, because this is actually.
This is Michael Eisner's idea, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. This was man. This is a long time ago.
1985. Original network CBS, but it was produced by Disney, obviously.
Yeah, here it is. For those of you that are too young,
I remember the name. I can't picture the.
That was the Wuzzles. And they were like these hybrid animals of monkeys. And
oh yeah. I remember now with the bumblebee lion and everything. Yeah, okay, I remember.
So I don't think that's even on Disney Plus.
No, that's not.
So
there's some deep cuts here, guys.
Deep cuts. Yeah, these are some deep cuts. And I don't know if there's much of a look, I understand. Like Disney's in the business of making money and getting subscribers on the platform. Are the Wuzzles going to drive a lot of subs? No. But it would be a nice little add-on. Yeah, just throw it into the content that if people do want to watch them and kind of relive their childhood memory, they have the option to do so. Let Star Wars and Marvel bring in the subs while you could have the other features to say, hey, we also have this content on too, as for nostalgic purposes. Right.
No, I think that adds value. That adds value to what you're paying for per month, and you can have it be like a classics tile, right? It's, the Disney classics kind of thing, where, like I said, they upload something every month, whether it be like an episode or something, a season or something, or And I'm
sorry, I'm gonna date myself with this, but where in the hell is Bear in the Big Blue House? It's.
That was a huge show. I'm surprised it's not on there.
I'm like, wow. I mean, that thing went on for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, and that's Jim Henson, show. Right?
That was with Jim Henson, yeah.
So they own it. I don't know what the issue with that is. That's really strange.
The Muppets at Walt Disney World. Have you fellas ever seen that special?
No.
The Muppets at Walt Disney World. This was to promote sort of like the collaboration with Jim Henson and Disney when Jim was supposed to sell the rights of the Muppets to Disney right before he died. It was his last project he did with Disney that went back to back with Muppet Vision 3D.
Wow. See, there's so much stuff. I mean, we can go on for another hour easily on this. I mean, there's just so much stuff. I've been really diving into a lot of the old school content. I love revisiting this stuff. I love discovering new classics I didn't even know existed. Blackbeard's Ghost.
Love that movie. I never watched it until I got Disney Plus.
Me neither. And it's a fun movie. And that's the great thing about these streaming services is like a movie I would never buy. Like I would never spend $20 on getting a movie I never heard of. But now I don't need to do that. I can click on the tile and watch this stuff. And now I'm a fan. Now I like Blackbeard's Ghost.
And I have a little piece of trivia here for you. The actor who plays Blackbeard does the voice of Prince John in Robin Hood.
Wow. Did not know that.
There you go. There we
go.
Just wanted to clarify for our audience members here. So a lot of people believe that the Jim Henson Company is owned by Disney. They're not.
Oh,
those rights reverted back to the family back in 2004, right? Actually 2003. But in 2004, they sold the rights to the Muppets and Bear in the Big Blue House. So they do own those two franchises from Jim Henson specifically, but all the characters that Jim Henson created as part of the company, they still retain those.
So could that possibly be, even though that Disney owns partial of that, do you think that's like negotiations that they would have to deal with the Henson family in order to get it on?
Disney was probably smart in 2004, I'm sure they were smart enough to know. No, we own all rights, whether that be distribution or production.
Wow.
Because sometimes it's like, oh well, you own the theater rights, but you don't necessarily own all this kind. Disney doesn't do
Right.
that. They buy the whole pie. So
Wow.
It's like you own the theater, but we own the janitor.
yeah,
Right.
something like that. Something like that. Yeah.
Now let's pivot to the next topic. It's still Disney Plus related, but it's about adult content. Now, Dre, you, myself, and Alia,
Mhm.
we touched upon this a few weeks ago about how more adult Marvel stuff is coming on to Disney Plus. I know Chapek has been a big proponent of this. I actually agree with Chapek on this. Sorry, fans. I agree with Chapek on something. Oh my God. But I do. I think that Disney Plus should have more adult content. They're doing the right thing. They're putting it behind a parental control, which is the right way to go. But George, Mr. Family Man, you're a family man. So I'm going to go to you first. As a family man with a young child, are you okay with this? Does it make you a little nervous, apprehensive? Where are you at with this?
I think honestly, even right out at the back, like before when they just announced it and they actually didn't put it on the streaming service yet, I heard like this so much uproar. What's Disney doing? Disney isn't that kid-friendly, family-oriented type of company anymore. Well, but you also have to think too, it's also said many times that Disney is for everybody. And everyone has their own personal taste, their own liking, and there's different levels of it. And they give this explicit, black and white, notification that, there is adult content and it's up to the parents, just like me. That's not up to anybody else. If I feel that my son shouldn't be watching something, that's up to me. If I say it's okay, that's my right. But Disney gives you that option. And by them adding that parental right and adding the 4-digit PIN, it allows you to say, hey, you can watch this, but you can't watch that. I'm perfectly okay with it because it also widens the market to get people to say, hey,
Right.
there's an interest on this streaming service that I want to look into. I might subscribe to it. And I think that's a game changer for Disney, because I think a lot of people weren't expecting them to do that, but I think it will definitely help them financially in the long run.
Absolutely. Dre, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, I thought the last time we spoke about this, it was all about what they might do based on previous iterations of this in various countries and what that might look like here. I thought the rollout was a little suspect. I guess anybody, like the first people to log in, like the first user to log in when this rollout was released, like I think they had the ability to create a pin, which could be a problem if if your child is the first one to get in. I thought that was really interesting. I don't know if anybody else experienced that or if that's a widespread thing, but I was like, oh, that's kind of curious. Anyway, but no, look, I we had kind of predicted that this kind of thing was coming. I think even long before even we heard that the other markets like Canada and so forth were getting it, and to see it here, I echo a lot of my sentiments that I had before. I think it's I think it opens up a world of possibilities. We're seeing the Disney company kind of pivot away from maybe our associations with the brand or what it has been ever since our age group growing up, right, in the 80s, 90s and beyond. What we think of the Disney company has changed profoundly in that time, and it's ever evolving, and it's evolving now. I mean, now we're going to have sports betting as part of ESPN. That's crazy. That is nuts. That is absolutely insane. They don't even allow gambling on the cruise line, but they're going to have one of their biggest divisions dedicated to it, at least somewhat. So we're seeing these changes, and I think for Disney Plus, I think it is a real big game changer. They've already placed the Netflix Marvel shows on there, and it's really cool to see that, and to have it be part of the lineup. I think that's pretty awesome.
Well, and it's good for the Marvel brand because Disney wants full control of the stuff that they own. Excuse me. And if you limit it to, well, this is too adult, for Disney, then you have to like divvy it out into other platforms like Netflix.
Yeah.
But now, if you don't have that and you can bring it on to Disney Plus, add a parental control, Disney Plus really will be a one-stop shop for everything Marvel, aside from Spider-Man.
Aside from Spider-Man, damn it.
Aside from Spider-Man, but it gives Disney more control of their own stuff,
Yeah.
And I was a big fan of the Marvel Netflix stuff. I absolutely love Daredevil. A fantastic show. Jessica Jones. I love Jessica Jones. Look, a lot of people didn't like Iron Fist. I actually like Iron Fist, I think they did a lot of great stuff, and it's good to have it on D Plus. Put it behind a parental control. It's all good. Hey, look, the door. A lot of people complain about Disney kind of like embracing this more adult content.
Mm-hmm.
That door was cracked open with Michael Eisner when he bought Pixar. I mean, when he bought not Pixar. I'm sorry. When he bought Miramax, when he started Touchstone and Hollywood Pictures and all that stuff. None of that stuff. A lot of stuff on that came out of that studio, especially Miramax, was not family friendly. But Michael Eisner understood at that time that if Disney's going to be a player in the industry, they have to branch out into this stuff. So as long as you protect the Disney name and you put it behind the parental controls, I think you're good. I think you're good. Just don't throw it out there willy-nilly. You got to be responsible about it. But I think they're doing the right thing here. I do.
Yeah. It's kind of funny because I think we're both thinking the same thing when it comes to Miramax.
Yeah.
I think it's all I think is Pulp Fiction with
That's it.
It's the Gimp and Royale with cheese. I mean,
Yes.
that's technically a Disney product.
Yes,
It's kind of funny to think about that. But look,
that movie was released when it was owned by Disney.
I mean, it was. Those are hard facts, hard truths.
And I'm sorry, that's for me. That's the best Quentin Tarantino film ever for me. Anyway,
it's so good, man. It's so good. I can talk about that film all day. It's just it's delight. I do like probably either Django Unchained or Hateful Eight or whatever. But yeah, okay. we'll have to
yes.
Let's put that away for right now. But look, listen, I am a big fan of Disney, obviously, but when it comes to mature content, I mean, they haven't always been there, right? They haven't always provided that.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you got to go other places. Well, I find it cool where it's like I can see Elsa and Anna, but I can also see the Punisher, driving some guy's skull into a broken mirror. It's freaking awesome, right? Depending on the flavor, it's there. And I don't know. I mean, as long as you limit it, and looks like they have, I think it could work.
Are they considering adding Deadpool? Is that?
You know what? I didn't see it on there. So they do have
do you think that would be in the possibilities? Do you think they would add that?
I think it is.
I think it is. Yeah. So they do have like a Marvel Legends section where they have like the X-Men films and stuff like that.
Okay.
I can definitely see Deadpool being added. I'm surprised it's now that you say that, I'm surprised it's not.
And you know what? Disney is moving forward with Deadpool 3, and
Yep.
I think it was Kevin Feige who promised it's going to be an R rating. It's so funny to me too because so many people, like really, ever since they bought Marvel, a lot of fans were concerned they're going to Disney-fy Marvel. They're going to Disney-fy Marvel. I don't see it.
No, especially after Deadpool.
Yeah.
That's like far from being that cookie cutter clean Disney.
It is Fox, but to have Disney's commitment to it, it's like, hey, if they want to go forward,
and that's
with
why
it,
I was surprised with it because since Deadpool came out and Disney bought Fox and with Disney Plus and everything, everyone was saying, okay, when is it going to be time when Disney's going to drop it in to the streaming service? And then when they did this, I thought, well, could this be the purpose for it? Because Deadpool as a franchise is really successful.
Oh yeah,
huge. It's huge.
Yeah. No, Disney. The first two films for Deadpool were under Fox when Disney didn't own Fox. This third movie that they're coming out with is going to be Kevin Feige. It's gonna be Marvel, Disney, and they've committed to an R rating. So that's the right move. That's the right move. I think Chapek is very much committed to, like, he's not going to shy away from this stuff, you know, and it's up to the parents to do those parental controls. It's up to the parents to parent their kids. It's up to the parents to sort of monitor their own kids and what they watch. And Disney, what they'll do is they'll just give you the tools to assist you in that process. You know, they're not going to basically tell you what you and your family should or shouldn't watch. They're going to give you the tools to kind of monitor and customize your experience. And I think that's the way to go. I really do.
When it comes to the Marvel stuff, though, I just want to ask, you know, there has been a kind of a point of separation between the MCU as we know it and the Netflix shows, right? Now, technically, Netflix shows are part of the same universe, but they've always kind of had that degree of separation. When it comes to like a Daredevil or like a Deadpool, do you think they make that transition into the MCU now that all this is officially now under kind of one banner, so to speak?
I think from what I understand, and I think it was just announced the other day actually with Daredevil, that Disney wants to reboot it.
They are, yeah.
But they're going to use Charlie Cox's character though, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I think that's kind of like the model, because we saw Kingpin in Hawkeye, but it was Vincent D'Onofrio, right, playing Kingpin like he was in the Daredevil show. But this character that was in Hawkeye is separate from the Netflix show. They're like rebooting it. So I think they're going to utilize all the characters and try to get the same actors and actresses. They're just going to reboot like the storylines and the
just to make it a little bit more the continuity.
And that's
right.
that is the genius part of Marvel, is especially once they released. Well, I mean, I know this is part of Sony, but Spider-Man No Way Home, that just completely blew everything out, because now you have these three actors who portrayed the same character over multiple generations, and now everything is in one film. And it's like now Marvel could basically do anything at once and it would still make sense. You could change the characters, you could change the storyline, but yet it would fit in perfectly because of adding that notion to it.
That multiverse,
today, actually.
That multiverse element, it changes the game completely, because you can add anything, and it makes sense.
I'm gonna watch it for the first time today, actually. So that's pretty. Yeah.
No,
I haven't seen
No Way Home.
No Way Home. I still haven't seen it, so I'm gonna watch it today.
Theater, or are you watching it on?
Watching it at home. Yeah, I was able to get a review copy of the film. How did I do that? I don't know. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Isn't that interesting? Maybe I know somebody who knows somebody, or maybe it's me. I don't know. Who knows?
Let me know how it is. I still haven't seen it. I actually did go, and this is funny. This is breaking news here on OG55, because I'm not a big theater guy. I went to the theater for the first time a few days ago, and I saw the Batman. And I know this isn't Disney, but I don't usually go to the theater very often. I'm not a theater guy. I'm team stream. But it was cool. It was cool to be in the theater, and it was really, really. The Batman's a phenomenal movie, by the way, you guys. I'm not a huge DC person. Matt Reeves freaking killed it. Amazing movie. He did it right. So absolutely incredible. I really, really did enjoy it. Really, truly.
Listen, you know, we talk about Disney a lot, but DC has had its own, you know, can of worms struggles. Like that's a whole dramatic thing, the corporate, you know, drama surrounding that franchise for Warner Brothers. I mean, it's been great. It's been wild. So I'm glad to see that DC is kind of getting its act together. Maybe it's encouraging.
And real quick before we pivot to our last and final topic, Discovery is buying Warner Media, which we all know. And the new CEO of the Discovery Warner Media company will be David Zaslav. Okay, David Zaslav runs Discovery right now, and he's a phenomenal CEO. Everything I hear about Zaslav reminds me of like Bob Iger in a lot of ways. He seems to really understand the creative side and the financial side. I predict, I'm calling it right now on OG55, I'm predicting big things for Warner in the next 3, 4, 5 years. I think Zaslav is going to kill it. I think he understands content. I think he understands creatives. I think he's going to do a phenomenal job running this company. To be honest with you, as a Disney fan, I wish he was running Disney. I do. I think he understands it, but it's going to be a good time for Warner. I really do believe that.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, he Zaslav seems committed to it, really, bridging those relationships, just like right off the bat, really kind of, making those relationships happen in a way that Chapek didn't really see all that apt to do, when he walked in the door. So it's going to be interesting to see what the differing styles and personalities. Exactly. So that's all making moves, right? Making moves. It's going to be interesting to see what, the difference in philosophies and how they actually shape their companies.
And honestly, depending on how well he does with the Warner Media, you never know down the road. I mean, hell, they brought someone in to be CEO for Disney from Paramount, and it was like, things can change, things can happen day for day. And we may be thinking like, what, why do that? And it may be for the better.
Right. I'm still DC and Marvel, obviously, big oppositional forces. But there were times back in the comic book days when they would kind of cross the streams, so to speak, right? And I keep waiting for the day when Kevin Feige might be getting somebody on the phone with Warner Brothers and saying, "Do you want to do something here? Do you want to have a crazy crossover?" And just kind of even just market test it. I think that would be really
think
cool.
if they were to do that, that would probably be the U.S.'s first $1 billion film.
Well,
when I mean like $1 billion, like only U.S., like only counting.
Yeah, okay, yeah, only U.S. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that might be the case because that would be massive. We've seen some. Yeah, go ahead.
We talked about the multiverse. I mean, if they're gonna do it, now's the time, because even in that Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness trailer, I think his name is Wong, if I'm not mistaken. He says we don't know who or what will come through that portal.
Right.
They've opened up the fucking possibility for anything, dude. You could have Batman, the DC, any of it come through the multiverse and go toe-to-toe with the Marvel characters, and it would make sense in that multiverse kind of prism, in that sphere,
I'm just saying, if you have Gal Gadot walk through the door, and I mean, that would be insane. Like, that would destroy minds. I mean, it just blow, endlessly, right? I'm just saying, like, that stuff did happen before with the comics. Can we bring it to the films? I think it's going to be fascinating. I want to see those kind of relationships blossom and see what comes out of it.
But the greatest collabo of all time will always be Who Framed Roger Rabbit when we
man. Boom. There you go. There
Bugs
you
Bunny,
go.
Mickey Mouse,
same screen.
Hey, Roger Rabbit 2. Come on. Let's do something. Let's do something between Disney and Warner. Let's do it. Get the band back together again.
I mean, I'm sorry, that both those scenes, Donald and Daffy, Mickey and Bugs. Sorry, you can't touch that. You can't touch it.
Crazy.
No,
crazy.
You can't.
Crazy this
Now,
crossover.
we have one more topic.
I'm sorry. Before we do, I'm sorry. Just one last thing. Vash, as far as with No Way Home, you will definitely enjoy it because that was my first film back in the theater after 2 years, and I swear people were actually jumping up on the seats. Like, I'm not kidding you. So
really,
yes.
Okay. All right.
Nice.
All right. You know what? I got the 4K TV surround sound system already. That's primed. I got dying to see this film. I just never got a chance to see it in theaters, so I'm really excited to actually see it all.
But as far as like with the parental stuff, if you want to have your kids watch, Iron Fist, watch it. If you want them to watch, if you want them to watch The Punisher, watch The Punisher. If you want them to watch Turning Red, put it on. You have all that.
And that's a perfect segue to our Turning Red. That's a perfect segue to our next topic, which is is Pixar losing its creative touch? Now, George, this was a topic you presented to me. I'm going to let you start off, and we'll go from there. Do you think, George, I'll present the question to you. Do you feel Pixar is losing their creative touch?
Honestly, sadly, I really do. I really do. There's just certain elements that it doesn't feel like Pixar to me anymore. Like Pixar had this sort of lightning in a bottle type of effect where you could look at these characters, you can watch these movies, the storyline, and it will just draw you into it where these creators aren't worried about so much as, okay, what is today's time of saying, how can we touch this group of people? How can we touch that group of people? Don't minimalize groups. Just do it for all. And I think that's where Pixar is hitting its mark. And I know a lot of people said, with Turning Red, it's a great movie, this and that, why you're not knocking it, not specifically to me, but just people who are. I watched the film. It was okay, but the animation, the story, it seemed like something that would come out of DreamWorks. It was something that from a long time ago of what Jeffrey Katzenberg wanted Pixar to do as far as with the original Toy Story. He wanted Woody to have like this kind of robust, rough, tough kind of edge sort of thing. And I have to give it to John Lasseter for that. He did not want that. He said, we want to make a film that we want to do. And it's just getting to the point where, yes, the animation in Luca is a completely different type of animation, but it fits the storyline. It fits the way that they have the characters and everything. It fits. When they did Soul, beautiful animation. With Turning Red, I don't know where, for some bizarre reason, that Pixar just dropped the ball on that one, and I feel like they're targeting a specific audience rather than everybody.
Yeah, I saw Turning Red as well, and I did not. I gotta say, I didn't like it. I gotta be 100% real. I didn't like it. I have a lot of criticisms of this movie. I felt that it was a little too. It just, from the minute it starts, it's like just kind of screaming and loud and just like jump cuts everywhere. It just wasn't for me. And look, maybe I'm not the demographic, and that's fair.
But here's the thing. I have, and this is a disclaimer, folks, because this is, when I first saw the teaser trailer for this film, I thought it was kind of Pixar's way of kind of making a statement without actually saying the statement. Okay, you have this young girl who's becoming a teenager, doesn't really know her emotions, and she turns red, a red panda. What does that symbolize? And I'm thinking in my head, well, there could only be one thing. But then you go and you watch the film, and yes, spoiler alert, you have her mother saying, "Oh, did you start your period? Oh yeah, here's all the feminine products. I got pads, I got a heating pad, I got this," and I'm like, "Whoa!" It's like you didn't even have to like make it like a symbolic term. You actually came out and said it. It was like, whoa.
Yeah, and it's just, oh man, the movie didn't do it for me. And here's the thing, and a lot of people are probably going to jump on me and say, well, it's not really made for me. You're not the demographic, you're not the target audience, and I totally understand that. But I personally, I actually have enjoyed a lot of films that are in shows that are not in my demo. Look, yeah. I loved the hell out of High School Musical, the series. I did a review on it like 2 years ago. Loved it. I ranted and raved about how much I loved it. That show is not in my demo at all. Okay, it's not. I don't even like the movies, and I love the show. I loved it. I think Olivia Rodrigo was phenomenal in that, and Joshua Bassett. It was great. Turning Red for me, it just didn't do it for me. I didn't like it. I just didn't. It wasn't my cup of tea. And the thing is that it just. Look, the Pixar, like, to answer your question, George, like, is Pixar losing their touch? I'm gonna have to say no. I mean, in general, because I did like Luca a lot. Yeah, I'm not being biased because I'm Italian, but I did like Luca. That was a really, really cute movie with a lot of heart. I loved the hell out of that movie. I loved Soul. Soul was so well done. That was a beautiful movie. Beautiful movie. Pixar has done some really great stuff lately. Unfortunately, Turning Red just wasn't for me. And half of my family is Asian. Okay? Half of my family is Asian. And, you know, while I like to see the representation and the attempt made, I just I don't think it hit the marks. And a lot of my family who is Asian agreed with that. They didn't really feel like it was a well done attempt in that regard.
Because of what they were trying to make the statement on, it lacked in the storytelling. And that's where a lot of it didn't really make sense to me, because it seems like they were just trying to push this notion of, okay, becoming a teenager, you know, you're going through a certain way, you know, how to control your feelings, your emotions. And it's like, but the storyline, it just didn't fit. It just didn't. And again, as you mentioned, OG, about the demographic, you know, probably doesn't fall in. But I've been watching Pixar films since 1995, since the beginning of Toy Story all the way on. So as I gotten older, it always kind of left my demographic, but I always walked away from these films to say, wow, like this film kind of tugged at my heartstrings, or these characters are real, like they show like real emotion and everything. And I just find that lacking in Turning Red. And yes, I do agree with you, Luca, Soul, definitely. But I think just something with Pixar right now is like they used to be the top dog with animation. And I think, and I hate to say this, but I really think that Disney is kind of losing their faith in the company. And that makes me wonder why maybe that could be the reason why they feel not to even release their films theatrically.
That's a good point. Dre, I know you haven't seen Turning Red.
Yeah.
But what are your feelings on Pixar losing their touch? Do you kind of see this happening right now? Where do you stand on this?
Dre, I just have to say, before you give your take on it, 86 Spider-Man No Way Home, watch Turning Red instead.
Oh, really? You think so, huh? That good? Wow. Okay, I will have to do that. Yeah, I will go off of your recommendation here, and I will hold it to you when I do. No, look. Okay. So much to say. Look, I've heard the argument where it's like, hey, it might not be in your demo, right? That's a load of malarkey. Okay, and the reason is because, okay, the Pixar, Disney, that's what they do. They create 4-quadrant films. Okay, right. I mean they're in the business of family entertainment, especially when it comes to animation, because these films are so expensive to produce. Especially Pixar with the rendering power, with their animators. I mean, they are expensive productions. You simply cannot afford to have a niche film. It has to be, a wide audience. It's just kind of how those things have to be. So this idea that it's like, oh, well, it wasn't for you. It's like, but why? Why not? Right. Why can't it be? Why? I mean, Pixar used to do this incredibly well. They used to create films that maybe normally wouldn't be films that would be 4-quadrant, but do them so well to a high degree that everybody could get something out of them. Right. You know, the 7 to 70 kind of thing. Doesn't matter how old you are, you get something. You'd come away with it. And I'd say this, George. Pixar and Disney used to be really good at providing a story with messaging, but do it in a way that is complementary to the story, and
yes,
maybe is transparent in the way that it's like you still get the message, but it doesn't feel spoon-fed kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah,
and
exactly.
It sounds like Turning Red didn't necessarily do that.
No, it didn't.
To think that this film started production back in 2018. So
what year was that?
2018 is when the film started into production, and of course it got delayed because of the pandy and everything. But I mean, 4 years of working on this, and this is the final product we get. It's like,
well, it's rough. I mean, I think the overall concept that they were going for was pretty cool. I like this idea of a coming of age story. The turning into a panda thing is really cool. It's kind of magical. It's very Disney in that regard. For me, this movie was all about execution. There were just decisions made in this movie that didn't work. If you guys ever watched the making of Frozen 2 on Disney Plus,
awesome documentary. Awesome documentary.
Fantastic documentary. But they talk about a lot in this documentary about how, like, when they were making The Little Mermaid, how like Jeffrey Katzenberg was like really like kind of pressuring to like remove the part of your world scene in Little Mermaid because he was afraid that kids were going to get bored. You know, it's a little slow. And Howard Ashman, God rest his soul, I absolutely love and adore Howard Ashman.
Amazing.
True Disney legend.
Amazing.
True Disney legend. But he stuck to his guns and he said, no, you don't understand. Like we need this scene. This is where the meat of the story is. This is where Ariel kind of gives what she wants. This is what you need it.
Absolutely.
And don't talk down to your audience. Kids will be fine. And thank God Howard Ashman won that debate. Now, here how it relates to Turning Red is I feel like Turning Red didn't learn that lesson. I feel like Turning Red is from the minute it starts to the minute it ends, it's hyperactive, in your face, loud, because they don't want to lose the audience. They think that kids can't handle a slow scene for a few minutes, and that's just not true. Howard Ashman taught us that. Walt Disney taught us that. You know, I don't know. I give kids more credit than that. I think you could. I think they needed to slow it down and tone it down. It was too much. It was just too much. It was exhausting.
Listen, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. We really never talked about this before, and I saw this tweet recently, and I was like, you know what? This kind of sums up in a nutshell, right? George, I think you referenced this. I want to add to that point. Breaking: George Lucas and Kathleen Kennedy received a joint award together last night from the Producers Guild, right? While accepting the award, George Lucas said that his goal as producer was always to do the impossible, right? In terms of the filmmaking context, right? Kennedy said that her goal was to promote women, diversity, and social justice. And look, it's fine to have that goal, right? It's fine to want to do that. Go out and do it. But the difference between the two is that George, I think, wanted to create an amazing story that maybe imparted those lessons into it. Whereas then Kathleen Kennedy, that is kind of the goal. And when it overrides the story, when it really takes it over, it feels forced. And people retreat from it and instead of embracing it, right?
Right.
My feeling, I think I'm getting from Turning Red, is if you do want to impart this kind of messaging and put in these stories, the story needs to come first and foremost. And it really, you really have to have your audience in mind, not just, to your point, OG, not just to the kids, but to the adults as well. Yeah. Because ultimately the adults are the decision makers. they're going to buy the film or not. And that's just what it comes down to.
And then you look at a film like Up, which is honestly on my top 5 as far as like Pixar goes. You have this almost like a 4-minute ballad of nothing but music and a sequence where it shows you life and death in the very beginning, right off the back in the beginning of the film. And it's like people were like emotionally drained after those 4 minutes, and the movie didn't even start yet, but it sets the tone of the film of where it's going to end up leading to. So it makes a full circle where you say, okay, now that makes sense.
Up, people talk about theatrical releases and all that, but Up was nominated for Best Picture. Not Best Animated Film, not Best, big budget film. It was nominated for Best Picture. It was that good. That was the apex of animation for anybody. That's something Walt couldn't even do.
Right.
And to see where they've gone from not even getting a theatrical release, but producing something that's, I suppose it is divisive. I liken this to maybe like you ever see Rotten Tomatoes where it's like the critics score is like way high and then the audience score is way low. I kind of feel it like that. Like, yes, this is a critic's darling, and it does have some things going for it. At least it sounds like. But it just doesn't connect with audiences, and that's really where it needs to connect, especially if it's going to be a franchise worth supporting in the parks or anything else.
Well, and here's the thing too, is like, and I think this is okay to say, representation is very important, but I think it's also at the same time, it's okay to say that while you can commend Disney for the effort on representation, they could have done better with this current movie or this current show, right? Like, it's okay to say that. I think that like for example, like the same director who did Turning Red also did the short, the little bow short. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I love that short.
Yeah,
that short was perfect,
and I love that. And that's a perfect example of representation in film or a short that I think it pays homage to. Or not homage, but like in a very nice, a classy, respectful way, honors the culture, but it's a fantastic story too. And I think it's okay to acknowledge that, hey, you know what? We appreciate the representation effort with something like Turning Red, but the story wasn't there. It just wasn't quite there in terms of that. I think both things can exist. It's not like it has to be an all or nothing. It's not like
it's just the execution. That's what it comes down to. It's the execution. You could have the storyline, you could have the characters, you could have the background. That's all perfect. And I think they could have done something really well, really done perfectly, especially when you're talking, because that can relate to a lot of people. That could relate to both parent and child, because the storyline signifies where the parent is going through struggle, but yet the teenager is going through struggle. But it's just when you combine it together, they dropped the ball, as you said, OG, on that one.
My feeling is that there is good representation and bad representation, right? When cultures or people or races are depicted or represented badly, when they're represented stereotypically, that's not net positive; it's net negative. Right. So I think it, like you said, George, it just comes down to execution, and it just sounds to me like Turning Red just didn't really do that, and that's really unfortunate. I believe OG, I believe your family said that some of the depictions and representations were a little bit stereotypical, and that it kind of pulled them back a little bit, and it's really sad to hear that, because this is what Disney and Pixar especially did so right. This is what they used to do so eloquently and so and so methodically and so respectfully. And to see them fall on that is really unfortunate.
And I think another issue that I had with the film was the language that was used as far as how the kids talk, because again, it's set in today's time, but then again, as time moves on, it's going to really date itself. And that was the issue that I had with Ralph Breaks the Internet. I absolutely loved Wreck-It Ralph, but the second one I had so many issues with, because I mean, it was like, it's like dated everywhere, whether it's like with a meme or an app or what have you. And it's just like, everything is just thrown at you, where it's like, can you just tell a story where you can, whether you watch it today or you watch it 20 years from now, but it wouldn't necessarily show how dated it really is.
Yeah.
No, this movie is going to be, it's very modern. Well, it's modern. It takes place in like 2002.
2002. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're right, George. It's a very modern story. I don't know how it's going to age. For me personally, I'm a huge fan of like real timeless stories,
Yeah.
That's why I love films like Beauty and the Beast. You can watch that movie 100 years from now and it wouldn't matter.
I'm sorry, that not even with animation. I think that is one of the best films ever in cinematic history.
Oh God. And it comes back to Howard Ashman. And I know I sound like such a fanboy over Howard Ashman.
Well, I'm actually glad you mentioned him again. And I'm going to say this to all listeners and viewers. On March 14th marked the 31st anniversary of Howard Ashman's death. So since we're talking on Disney Plus and everything, if you have the streaming service, I very much highly recommend checking out the documentary Howard. It tells his life, the legacy, everything that he accomplished all the way through his death. It is a different kind of documentary that I actually believe OG and I did a review on it on this channel, and it's just one of those documentaries that is definitely worth checking out.
That documentary destroyed me. I mean, that was so emotional, and what he did for Disney. I mean, if it wasn't for that man,
there would be no Disney Renaissance era. There wouldn't be.
Yeah,
and there probably wouldn't even be a Disney, because that was the whole thing that kind of spawned Disney's financial success in that time with the Michael Eisner era. If it wasn't for Howard Ashman, Disney probably would have been bought up or split off into various pieces and sold off. The guy is an absolute Disney legend.
I mean, Michael Eisner was talking about shuttering Disney animation, you know, and just like, hey, you know what? We're in the live action business now, kind of thing. And, you know, Roy put his foot down, and to Howard's credit, I mean, he turned that around profoundly and really started the Disney Renaissance that we love and know today. Give credit to Don Hahn, though, for telling those stories. Don Hahn is an excellent director, and he's produced some documentaries before, and it's good stuff. I had an interview with him myself. He was good.
No, he's really good. Yeah, I mean, Howard Ashman is like, you know, Roy Disney called him another Walt, and he really was. He really had that way of just kind of inspiring the people around him and getting like he completely he transformed the Disney company. He really did. And it's funny because like, and I've been critical of this in the past, but like D23, they kind of throw around like the Disney Legends Awards. In my opinion, and I might get heat for this, I don't care, but this is my opinion. I think they throw around the Legends Awards willy-nilly. It's like,
absolutely.
You were in a Disney movie?
Absolutely.
You're getting a Legend Award. Oh, you know, it's like, come on. But if anyone deserves a Disney Legend Award, it was Howard Ashman. That is a true legend of the Walt Disney Company.
And when they put that message right at the end of Beauty and the Beast to our friend Howard, who gave a mermaid her voice and a beast his soul, I mean, how much more can you really say on that?
Amazing. An amazing man, an amazing legacy. And he was one of the like, you know, there's a short list of the Walt Disney Company, like with legends. You have the 9 old men, you have Walt Disney, you have Roy Disney, and you have Howard Ashman. You know, he's on that list. The Sherman Brothers, another, you know,
Alan Menken,
Alan Menken.
Alan Menken. Yeah.
You know,
and then you have the other list, Christina Aguilera. You know, so.
yeah, it's wild. It's wild, but yeah, it's Pixar. Look, this one wasn't for me. Turning Red wasn't for me, but I'm not right now off of one movie. I'm not willing to say Pixar is creatively in trouble. Just off of one, because I love Luca. That's the thing. I love Luca, you know, and I love Soul. I just feel like this movie in particular, for whatever reason, they just missed. They just dropped the ball.
I mean, that is true, because you will have hit and misses. You know, you got that even with Disney animation. You know, they had a dry spell, as we were just talking about, even before the Renaissance era.
Right.
That's what brought it back to life. I mean, because they had movies that were just not up to par. And I guess it's just more so for me. I was just so used to Pixar kind of always being at that top tier, and like they always try to outdo themselves,
like home run.
Yes, exactly. And it just seems like little by little they're going backwards. And I want them to succeed, because I want them to get back up on that higher pedestal with the characters and the storytelling and the animation. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know if maybe it was just how the timing with what they were trying to do, but the animation it just reminded me of a DreamWorks film. And I know Pixar is much better with that. I mean, when you have a film like Brave and you look at Merida's hair, for which actually the animator who worked on Merida's hair actually graduated from Carnegie Mellon right here in Pittsburgh.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
So, I mean, he alone worked on Merida's hair. That's all he worked on.
Yeah.
And it was like, and then you look at Sully's fur from Monsters Inc., and it's like the attention to detail to make things so realistic. That all came from Pixar.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't even mind. Like there was inevitably going to be a point where CGI got so real that it was going to get more stylized. Because like even hand-drawn animation kind of went through that same thing. Like if you notice, like the early Walt films, it was like that push for more real, more real, more real. But then you got to like the 50s, and they were like, okay, let's stylize it with like Sleeping Beauty, you know, and even like Cinderella. So I don't mind if CGI wants to have fun and kind of experiment with different styles. I'm down for that, because that seems like the natural evolution of the art. But with this particular style, yeah, I'm with you, George. I wasn't into it. You know, it wasn't so much that I'm against stylized CGI. I just wasn't into this version of stylized.
Exactly.
CGI.
Yes, exactly.
I think style is hugely important, and I don't mind, like you guys said, I don't mind stylized animation and so forth. I think that is the realm you need to go. Otherwise, you get into what is it? Robert Zemeckis, animation,
like the Polar
Uncanny
Express.
Valley. Well,
Polar
like
Express.
Mars Needs Moms and everything. Like that's where it goes eventually if you go down that rabbit hole enough. So I'm fine with not. There's
another Academy Award winner.
Oh boy! Oh man! Oh god! I cannot tell you guys how much money they piss down the drain. Okay, never mind. That's a whole other story right there. But look, when it comes to this, I mean, and I saw this feedback from a lot of people, whether it be from forums I frequent, whether it be from family members. I mean, a lot of people did not like the animation style that they chose for Turning Red. It just turned them off immediately. And I know for myself, seeing clips of it and stuff, I was like, I am not a fan at all of this, and really impacted me even seeing the film at all. At least for myself, I'm going to see it. I have to now. it's my job. But I don't necessarily want to because of that reason.
Yeah, and that's okay. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, I think that, it's like I said earlier, it's perfectly fine to want more representation and different cultural viewpoints, but also recognize like, hey, this movie just doesn't look appealing to me, or I watched that movie and it just didn't do it for me. I think that's perfectly fair. Perfectly fair.
Yeah.
So yeah. But guys, I want to thank both of you so much for coming on to this Orange Nerd show, talking Disney Plus and the topics, courtesy of Mr. D, Family Man 23. I want to thank you, George, for texting me these fantastic topics today.
My pleasure. I thought it was some juicy type of. Well, sorry, I can't say juicy. I'll be still in Mr. Vascai's little intro there. Don't want to get a copyright infringement there. So.
Oh yeah. You know what? I think the lawyers. Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. You're right now.
You're
right
good.
now. We'll lease you out there.
All right.
But thank you both. I'll start with you, George. If you can tell everybody everyone at home where they can find you on social media.
Absolutely. Well, you can find me on my YouTube channel at Disney Family Man 23, also under the same banner on Instagram, at Twitter at Disney George, and of course, as always, on Mr. Orange Grove 55's channel with Citrus Corner.
Perfect. Mr. Vash Sky, where can everyone find you on social media, sir?
Best place to find me is at Vash Sky. It's right down there below, just like it's spelled. I really do appreciate you guys. I say it a lot now, but I really do appreciate you guys chiming in and giving me your feedback. I mean, it's been awesome. Keep sending those DMs or tweets or whatever you want to do. It's been fun. It's been really, really fun. Like I said before, we do use your ideas for the show, and they've been very helpful in that regard. And if you want to see me, well, it's on the channel you're watching right now on Orange Grove 55 at Freshly Squeezed, your source for juicy news and info squeezed fresh right from the Grove. So that is where you can find me. There you go.
There we go. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Comment down below with your opinions on classic Disney content that they should or shouldn't add to Disney Plus. Comment below on your thoughts on Pixar, Turning Red, the mature content coming to Disney Plus, like Daredevil, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, possibly Deadpool. I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot to discuss here. We would love to hear from you guys. And just a reminder, the Orange Nerd Show, we dive into everything except the theme parks, movies, TV, streaming, even the corporate drama, like the Bob Chapek drama.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, a lot of that goes.
We get into all of it. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you very much.